Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ask Matt Lloyd. So today's question, which I'm answering here in Vietnam, that's where I am right now, I'm on a site visit. The question is from Joanne. Let me read this out. She said, can you explain the difference between a domain name, hosting, and WordPress? Now, I'm pretty sure I haven't answered this one before. This is a very good question because when I started in internet marketing, this was early 2009. This took me about 2 months to work out. Okay, I could not understand, how do you actually get a website online? What's the domain name? How's it all connect with the hosting? And what's this WordPress? How does everything fit together? So let me try and make this really simple for you today. So first of all, to get a website online, well, let me actually begin by explaining what the differences are. So a domain name is just a fancy name for a website name, like AskMattLloyd.com or mattlloyd.tv or mobe.com. Typically, domain names are going to be about $12, and the most popular site for getting domain names is GoDaddy.com. There's a lot of things I hate about GoDaddy, but for a domain name, they're okay. So you can get a $12 domain name, GoDaddy.com. There's a few others out there. You will need that. You want to pick a domain name that is memorable. This is the ultimate test for a domain name. If I tell you, or if you tell me your domain name on a phone, can I write it down after hearing it one time? Or will I need to say to you, can you repeat that again? Or, is there a double L there or a double T? If I have to ask those questions, then it's probably the wrong domain name. So a good domain name like AskMattLloyd.com or mobe.com, that's 4 letters. It's very short, concise. You don't want domain names that have ideally more than 3 or 4 words in that domain name. So you certainly don't want a domain name that's got like 6 words in it. That's overkill. Another piece of advice, if you are in the niche of promoting some make money system or network marketing or something like that, some sort of business opportunity, do not pick cheesy sounding names like, automatic cash millionairegenerator.com or something like that. A lot of people who are brand new have a tendency to pick those domains. They think it sounds exciting, and it doesn't. Most of the time it just sounds really cheesy. Okay, so try and pick something a little bit more classier. Okay, that's my advice. So you're going to go to GoDaddy.com, see if it's available first. Most of the good ones are going to be taken, but if you put some deep thought into it, I recommend you write down maybe 20 different ideas. Usually 1 or 2 of them will be available, and you can snap it up. Some of them are going to cost a lot more. Mobe.com, for example, that cost me quite a few $1,000s because someone else had it and they weren't willing to sell it. So I had to pay a lot more. The record for a domain name, as far as what someone's paid for a domain name, I actually don't know what it was, but I've heard of several of them. I know that people have paid many, many millions of dollars for certain domain names. There's actually a book called sex.com, and that domain, as you can imagine, in a certain industry, is worth a lot of money. Okay, so that's just an example. Certain domain names can be worth a lot, but you can get one on GoDaddy.com for cheap. Now, hosting. Okay, what is hosting? So hosting, the domain name is just the name. Okay, imagine we've got this little domain name here. The hosting is where all the files for the website are stored so that people all around the world, whether they're in Australia, America, they can actually access your website. They can type in that domain name, and the hosting stores all the content. The images displayed on a website, the text, the design, the colors, everything is stored on the hosting. So you absolutely do need hosting. Good thing about having your own hosting is that you're in control of it. You can have other people host your content. For example, you could go to, I believe it's WordPress.org or WordPress.com, one of them, and you can have WordPress host all of your content. That means that WordPress, they host your content. You can go and modify it anytime you want. The bad thing about that is you don't have control over it, and it doesn't look that professional because you have WordPress right there in your domain name. Okay, ideally you want a .com domain name. You can get .tv domain names, but I have that, for example, for mobe.tv. That's a TV blog, so it makes sense. After a .com, you can go for a .net. You can have a country extension like .com.au for Australia, things like that. But by far and large, a .com is always the most desirable. Okay, it's just short, concise. Everyone knows what a .com is. Okay, so you will need hosting. What do you want to use for hosting? That really depends on where you are. If you are just getting started, you can get hosting with GoDaddy. But if you're running a bigger operation, let's say that you're scaling to 6 figures or more, you want to stay wide away from GoDaddy for hosting. I've had absolute nightmares with GoDaddy before for hosting. Okay, they are really not good. But when you're starting out, let's say you just started last week, that's okay. All right, you can just use something like GoDaddy. You can just go to Google and type in best hosting companies, and you will find a list of good hosting companies. There's Host Monster, I believe. It's been a while since I used them, but I used to use them. So just Google Host Monster, HostGator. Okay, as in like alligator, HostGator. Check them out. I once used them in the past. Myself now for Mob. We actually have our own servers. That means that the hosting we use, it's not some other company that has the servers or the big computers that host all the files. We actually have our own. I don't even know where they are. My tech team does all of that, but we pay many thousands of dollars every month for our hosting. That's because we get a lot of traffic. When I was starting out, I was paying maybe, I don't know, $10, $15 a month, something like that. So it certainly wasn't a lot. All right. Now, as far as WordPress, what is WordPress? WordPress is a way that you can manage your content so you can update your website. It's basically a content management system where anytime you can log into your WordPress back office, you can change text, headlines, images, videos, and it's displayed on your website. Okay, so the good thing is if you're brand new and you don't know how to code, you don't need to know how to code with WordPress. Okay, it's pretty much what you see is what you get. Okay, so if you want to learn how to use WordPress, which I highly recommend, for anyone who wants to start an online business or have an online presence, having basic WordPress skills is really useful. When I first started out, I had no idea how to use WordPress, and it all looked very much beyond me. But every time that I would want to get a change on my website done, the company that was hosting the WordPress, I think they would charge $70 an hour. And back then, I didn't have a huge budget, so that got really expensive for me very fast. So you can learn how to use WordPress very easily. You could go to YouTube, okay, youtube.com, and just type in "How do I use WordPress?" And if you spend a few hours doing that, you could easily teach yourself basic WordPress skills. Okay, so that's what you're going to need. You're going to need a domain name, you need hosting, and you need to install WordPress on your hosting. Now, installing WordPress on your hosting, again, you could teach yourself how to do that on youtube.com, or you can find someone who could do that for probably under $50 quite easily. You could go to odesk.com. Post a job there, say that you need someone to install WordPress. You might even go to fiverr.com, fiverr.com, and you find people willing to do all kinds of jobs for $5 or less. So go to fiverr.com, and I'm willing to bet that you can find someone who will install WordPress for $5. Okay, you'll just need to give them your hosting details. They install the WordPress, and then you would probably want to change your hosting password straight after that. Okay, now if what I've just said to you makes no sense whatsoever, don't worry too much, because when I started, none of this really made sense to me. But like I said, just take it one step at a time. Go and get your domain name, $12. Go and get hosting. Find someone who has basic tech skills and tell them that you want to connect your domain name and your hosting, and you want to install WordPress on your hosting. And then let's say that your website is yourname.com. You would then go to yourname.com/WP-admin. Okay, WP stands for WordPress admin. So yourname.com/WP/admin. Okay, and that's how you log into your WordPress back office for your website, and that's how you change all the pages. Okay, so learn some basic WordPress skills. So Who asked that question? So Joanne, hopefully that makes everything a lot clearer for you. You'll pick this up pretty quickly, okay? The way that you learn this is just immerse yourself in it. Learn basic WordPress skills. Don't try and become a coder, okay? I have no idea how to code. That's way beyond me. I don't have the faintest clue when it comes to website coding. You don't need to know how to do it at that advanced level, okay? You just need to know basic WordPress skills, and that will really that'll help you along a lot. Okay, so I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks. Speak soon.